Welcome to USA Global TV and Radio, where our mission is to provide education, entertainment, hope, and inspiration. USA Global TV and Radio connects you with experts and audiences all around the world every single day to help you succeed in business and to live a richer life. Visit us at usaglobaltv.com to learn about career and life-changing training and mentoring programs like the Listening Mentor. Subscribe to our newsletter to stay informed about our special programs and offers. Discover how you can become a guest on one of our shows or a host or producer of a USA Global TV and Radio show of your very own. That's USA Global TV and Radio, where the doctor is always in.
Hello and welcome to USA Global TV and Radio. My name is Heward and I'm known as the Harley Street Stress Expert. Our show today is Talking Heads and I'm an expert presenter in today's topic, which is toxic relationship psychology, which is part of the Mind and Body Connection series. Let's begin. If you've been used to my presentations, if you've seen any of my presentations in the past, you'll know that I always like to start with a deep and meaningful quote to set the tone and the scene for the presentation. So I've got a quote here, a definition. By definition, a toxic relationship is a relationship characterized by behaviors on the part of the toxic partner that are emotionally and not infrequently physically damaging to their partner. Whoa, that's quite a big definition. And I just want to take a few of those things apart by saying it slowly. Toxic relationship. By definition, a toxic relationship is a relationship characterized by behaviors on the part of the toxic partner that are emotionally and not infrequently physically damaging to their partner. So that's usually one person is toxic and the other one is the other part of the relationship, is the person that's experiencing those toxic behaviors from the partner that is behaving this way. So let's explore this a little further. I thought that I wanted to even things up a little bit by a much kinder quote and a much less definition quote by Doreen Virtue. Who has time for toxic relationships? If someone isn't honoring your feelings, it's not a real relationship. If you feel drained after spending time with someone, that's a red flag. And it certainly is. I'm sure that we've all been in situations, friendships with colleagues, in relationships, where at the end of the time that we've been together with them, there's this like, oh gosh, I feel so drained. And that is a sign that it is toxic, that it's draining your energy. So looking at the psychology behind toxic relationships and friendships, because we're in a relationship to everything and everyone. We're always in a relationship to everything, including our own home environment, our work environment. So we're relating to everything around us, whether they be colleagues, friends, or indeed the intimate relationship, and of course the family relationships. So let's look at the psychology behind the toxic relationship. You will notice it because there will be from that person a lack of empathy, a lack of considered empathy for your situation. If you're having a difficulty, if you're having a challenge with something, they will rather be focused on the physical, practical, and less about the emotional side. This is the really big piece about the toxic relationship, that they will be more inclined to be on the physical side of the logic rather than the emotional side of the person. They will lack total empathy for you and your challenges. There will be an escalated experience of a mistrust in you as a relationship goes. So the mistrust will be both ways. It will be the person that's in the toxic relationship, they will feel a mistrust for the person that is creating the toxicity in the relationship. Because what we do when we're in a relationship, we give them everything. We trust them implicitly. And then they break our trust. Then they do something that betrays us. And if that keeps going time after time, then for the person that's in that toxic relationship, they will feel a mistrust in that person. But that also goes the other way. There will be a mistrust in the person that is toxic in the relationship because they will always be checking in. There will be a giving versus receiving in the toxic relationship. For the person that is in that toxicity, they will be one that's the giving person. They will always be looking for ways to give, to reward, to be the person that's honouring the other person. The person that's toxic in that relationship will be defined by the person that takes, that receives everything. And it will be a fascinating dynamic because you'll almost feel compelled to give because you want to get on their good side. You want everything to run smoothly. So you will be consistently wishing the best for them by giving. And the other person that is toxic in that relationship will receive absolutely every single time. And the person that's giving will almost feel like, well, hang on a minute, it's always me giving. And this will also cause an energy drain, emotionally, physically, and mentally. There will be an experience of, because it's prolonged in terms of, you'll almost think that you're going crazy, that you won't be liking yourself, because that will be the focus, that the focus will be on you doing everything wrong, on you not performing and being the best that you can be in that relationship. And there'll be all sorts of conversations and activities where you don't quite deliver what the person requires. And so you will suffer with a level of low self-esteem, low confidence, and inadvertently, those will bring you to a place of not really liking yourself for who you really are. There will be a level of competition, almost like, because this will be a non-emotional relationship from the person that's toxic. And so there will be a masculine energy about that competition. You'll be almost competing for airtime and for self-time, for time to be heard, time to be seen. And your experiences in that relationship will almost feel like you're not getting the airtime, and you're not getting the listening, you're not getting the seeing time in that relationship. You'll almost be feeling deprived of that time of being yourself. It'll also come out as there'll be a lot of making excuses, making you wrong for things. So you will feel that you've heard everything that you thought was said, and yet what will happen is that the person that's toxic in that relationship will be making excuses as to the things that you didn't do right, the things that you didn't match up to from their expectation. What's really fascinating about this is that you could start to believe that this is true, and that you are the one that's going a little crazy, and that you are the one that's not getting it right, or sort of seeing things that aren't there. But the person that's toxic in that relationship will be consistently making excuses for not showing up or being there in the way that you expect them to be in a relationship. It's difficult to experience because you'll come off feeling like a victim, like nothing that you do is good enough, or brave enough, or big enough, or what they were looking for. They will always be moving the goalposts. And if they said that they're going to take you out, for instance, if it's in an intimate relationship, they will make an excuse as to why they can't be there. And then you're left having prepared everything, maybe booking a restaurant, maybe cooking a meal, and then suddenly they can't make it. This will be the way to break down your experiences of the emotional side in that relationship. There will, of course, because of these experiences that I'm just describing, is that there will, for the person in that relationship, there will be a feeling of a lot of stress and anxiety. And anxiety comes from future tensing, future expectations of not being met. If I do this, what will they do? If I don't do that, will I upset them? Oh, I better do that because they won't be happy if I don't do this. And there'll be all sorts of future conversations in your mind of things that haven't happened, that might happen, because you almost step into a space of second guessing what the other person is thinking or going to do or might not do, or whether you have delivered or not delivered what their expectation was. So, of course, this will put you into a space of not really being yourself. How can you be yourself when you're in that level of stress, that level of anxiousness, and that level of pleasing the other person? Yes, this is where you'll step into the place of doing your best to please them. And when you're pleasing the other person, you're actually allowing everything that's happening in that relationship to invade your boundaries. So you're not feeling the scope and the space to be yourself in that relationship. And when you're not being yourself and you're trying to please and you're trying to be, and I say this operatively, you're trying to be everything that you believe the other person wants from you. And when you're trying to do that operatively, you get very drained. You will feel very, very tired. And you'll get to a point of not being yourself so much that you've forgotten who yourself really is. And that is not good. That's not good for you or that you being in that relationship. Because if you're not being you, who are you being? And if you're not being you, is that serving you? Is that serving you in that relationship? There will be a lot of promissory breaking. They'll promise to do all sorts of things for you. And at the very last minute, this is the key. At the very last minute, they will break the promise of what they promised because something else has stepped in that's more important. This is a way of reeling you in. They will reel you in because when something is broken at the last minute, there's nothing you can do. You might have got ready for a big party that you were going to enjoy, and then it's cancelled on you. It might be that there's a big event that they're going to take you to, and suddenly there's something else that's more important. And so this breaking of promises is a really key feature behind the psychology of a toxic relationship and friendship. And that's because when the promises are broken, that close to the point of that situation happening, that event, that happening, taking place, that experience that you were looking forward to, and then it's taken away, it literally depletes your energy. And this will move you into a place of, and I don't really like to use this terminology, and at the same time, it's a very understood terminology in our environment and in our world today. Mind games. It's an awful experience when you feel you're in a place of mind games, of the other person one-upping you or playing you, or you have this big expectation of something that's going to be wonderful and then it's suddenly stripped away from you. Also, the mind games can feature in the space of that you heard what they said, and yet they will turn around and say, they didn't say that. I must have been making it up. Like, where did you get that from? That's not what I said. Oh, don't be silly. You're so sensitive. And these mind games will really zap your energy. It will make you feel almost worthless. It will lower your self-esteem, your self-confidence, and it will even make you question and question who you are and what you heard and what is real and what is true. It's an incredible situation to be in, because when you're in a mind game scenario that is ongoing, you're always trying to second guess what's going on, what's going to happen. And so you're on your guard. Is that the way that you want to be in a relationship? I think not. This is the behaviors. This is the psychology of the behaviors behind someone that is the toxic in that relationship. There will be a checking in, and in our today's technology with text and WhatsApp and all sorts of social media, they'll be checking your profile on social media, what you're doing, and checking in who you're seeing, who you're conversing with, who you're commenting. And they will also be checking in by text. Where are you? What are you doing? What time will you be back? Oh, I thought that you were going so-and-so, but now you're somewhere else. What's going on? And there will be a constant checking in, which will cause you, it'll be a disallowing of you being your true self and feeling free in that relationship. And it will be constricting to such a point that you will begin to restrict what you do for fear of what they might say. And obviously, coming out of all of this will be an enormous amount of jealousy on the part of the person that is toxic in that relationship. There will be an insecurity that's so great on their part that they will be jealous of everyone and everything, whether it's a friendship with a colleague, in your work, whether it's a relationship in your family. They will do everything they can to bring you in, because there'll be a possessiveness about that relationship that they want you all to themselves. And this is about power and control, because all these things that I'm describing are very much taking away your power in that relationship. So from an emotional place, you will feel that they are minimizing you in that relationship. You will feel less than at every gesture, at every turn, less than who you really are. There will be a feeling of intimidation that you will get to know. And that feeling of intimidation could come in all sorts of ways. One of them might be a look that you know they're not happy. They could roll their eyes at you, and when you're in company, nobody else sees it, but you know you're in trouble. It might be the tone that they use. Or maybe they raise their hand, but not actually physically hurt you. But it's the intimidation of what might be that causes the challenges and causes that power over you and that control. The privilege side of things will be that they've got to have the last word. I am sure that we've all known and been in relationships and friendships, even in the families that we have, that there's somebody that has to have the last word. And if they don't get the last word, it will just keep going backwards and forwards like a tennis match. Well, you said this. No, I didn't. You said that. And it will just go backwards and forwards. And it will continue until somebody stops. And you realize that you can't have the last word in that relationship. You have to give it up to the person that is being toxic in that relationship. And that is a sense of privilege that they will hold in having that last word, that last thing. It's a one-upmanship they won. The isolation that you will feel in this power and control, toxic, abusive relationship will be such that they will isolate you from your family, from your friends, from people that you would deem supportive. Because before it gets toxic, they will win you over. They will learn all about what doesn't work for you, where your chinks are, where you're not feeling the best, where your vulnerabilities are. Because they will draw you in a place of trust to begin with. And so they will know what your needs are. And knowing what your needs are, they will then neglect your needs to wield the power and control over you. And by the time they're doing that neglection in your relationship, the isolation has become crammed, and in effect you've become isolated because nobody likes your partner. Everybody's not got a bad word to say about him. They've all got, you could do better, but you love him because he will make it, or she will make it, that you need to be in that relationship. And isolation is the key for them holding the power and control over you. There could be psychological humiliation in this relationship that's toxic. And that psychological humiliation will come in all sorts of ways when you're in company. They might ridicule you or make you feel small, or talk about things that you did that they deem were wrong or insulting to them. But the humiliation is a further space of wielding the power and control over you. And in some relationships, there could be sexual abuse, where they're asking or pushing you to do sexual acts that you are not comfortable with and wouldn't deem comfortable to do. But they push you into those sexual acts that make you feel debilitated, that will make you feel uncomfortable to such a point that you're not now saying yes. And this is a form of abuse, pushing you to do things that you're not comfortable in doing. So let's look at how you move on from a toxic relationship, because it's important that you develop a support network. Because during the space of you being in that toxic relationship, you will have lost your support network. So it's important to be in awareness that that support network has been diminished, and to regain the support network, to have those conversations, to find the people that you can confide in. It's important that you tell people what's not working in your relationship so that they can support you when you're moving on from the toxic relationship. It's important to trust other people, because in that trust, this is how you can move forward with the support of others that care for you. It's very important to forgive yourself, because you will almost feel a shame or a state of embarrassment that you got into that space in this relationship, and that you allowed this abuse to take effect in the relationship. And so it's important to forgive yourself for allowing it. Because when you forgive yourself, you have the first stage of moving forward, so that you can give yourself all the nourishment that you need. If you don't forgive yourself, it will be very stressful on you, because you will always look at, you did this wrong, you did that wrong. And in not being in a space of forgiving yourself, you can take that into your next relationship, and it'll almost turn into an anger. It is important to have emotional release. When you're moving on from a toxic relationship, the very fact that you've had to literally walk on eggshells, that's what it will feel like. You're really, really watching everything you say, everything you do. You're watching your text messaging, your social media, because you're in fear of their response to you, and what would be very simply innocent, and that will make you hypersensitive. So it is important to allow the emotions to come up and release. There may be anger. There may be frustration. There may be heartbreak, sadness at what has happened to your wonderful relationship. Whatever you feel, allow. It's important to allow the emotions to release. Because if you push the emotions down and then build yourself back, pushing the emotions down, you will then move into the mind, and the emotions will then resort into trauma within the body. Anger can affect you in a very big way in terms of inflammation and pain in the body. It's incredible how sadness can move you into a place of shutting down the heart chakra, and moving you into a place of feeling like every day is a battle. Every day you're in a war zone. And it won't be that the other person has done anything bad to you or wrong to you. It will just be the way that it is for you. And I'm sure that we've come across those kinds of people, that they will be working through a day as if they're in their suit of armor fighting another battle. Watch your responses and your reactions, because our responses and our reactions are absolutely ours. It is much more key and much more important to contain the reaction and the response. so that we can process what's come up for us. If we are reacting and responding, we are reacting under a personal trigger. So it's important to become aware of what's triggering you and what your responses and reactions are, so that you can move through this and become more whole again and become your true self. This is a big one. Your story. Have you ever been in a situation where the person is describing their story and they're describing a set of abusive experiences, and you really, really feel for them? And you might be observant enough to say, well, oh my gosh, when did this happen? And the person that's recounting the story says, oh, that was 10 years ago. Oh, that was 20 years ago. He's history. But the person relives the story as if it is still there in their environment in this moment. Now, your mind doesn't know what's real or imagined. And your story, if you recount your story over and over and over and over and over again, your mind does not know what's real or imagined, and your mind believes you are suffering those experiences that you are retelling. And then the emotions and feelings come from the story, the words that you use, and more importantly, the behaviours dictate how you're feeling and experiencing. And so if there's a relationship that ended 10 years ago, 20 years ago, and you're still in your story, you are still in the abuse in your mind. And your mind has no idea what's real or imagined. And so your mind believes, and then your body and your feelings and your experiences and your behaviors follow. And it's okay to have your story. I would focus on your transformational story. What did you learn from that experience? How did you move through the experience into your inner peace? What were the lessons that you learned? What challenges did you overcome, so that you don't go and replay the whole thing all over again? This is another quote that I feel that's really, really important to stress in terms of how you might feel in that relationship. It's not embarrassing to leave a toxic relationship. And one of the things that happens in that relationship is we almost feel that we have to stay there, to prove them wrong, to prove everyone else wrong, that that person that you're in that relationship is really a good person, and you want to change them to be that good person. And so we stay. To leave a toxic relationship, it's embarrassing to stay in that toxic relationship. Do what's best for you, regardless of what anyone says to you or what anyone thinks. It's important to stay in your truth. And if this relationship is not serving you, if it is causing you emotionally and physically trauma and harm, leave your toxic relationship and be in a better relationship next time by learning the lessons. I'd like to finish with a quote from Steve Maraboli. He says, "The most powerful relationship that you will ever have is the relationship with," you guessed it, yourself. That is the top relationship. If you are abusing yourself, then energetically, from a frequency perspective, you will attract someone to abuse you in your next relationship. So take time for yourself to get to know who you are and get comfortable with who you are, and learn to fall in love, literally to fall in love with you. And when you fall in love with you and you honour yourself in every aspect of you being you, warts and all, you might have things that you don't like, you might have things that you love. But when you honour your personal relationship with you, other people will honour you. The best relationship will come from having this beautiful relationship with yourself. When you honour yourself, when you love yourself, when you care for your personal needs, when you nourish yourself in every possible way, whether it's physically, whether it's emotionally, mentally, behaviourally, whether it's the lessons that you learn, even if you hold the hot coal of anger in your hand, you are hurting yourself by being angry. Forgive yourself. Honour yourself by being in the best relationship possible so that you have the best possible opportunity and chance of creating a beautiful relationship after being in that toxic relationship. This is your way forward when you honour who you really are as a person by finding out what you love, what you like, what you don't like, by honouring everything about who you are and what you have come to do in this world. Honouring everything that makes you being you. And we are all different. We don't have to be a clone of our partner. It is important to find who you are and what makes you happy, what makes you feel safe, what makes you feel nurtured. The first intimate relationship is our intimate relationship with self. Thank you for your interest and your attention. Please subscribe to USA Global TV and Radio. You can find all my Talking Heads episodes under, for last year's, Caroline Heward, under the playlist Talking Heads. You can find all of the Talking Heads episodes for 2023 under Talking Heads 2023. I have shared many insights in terms of all sorts of issues and challenges that you might come across that can create you to have a stressful experience in life. I am here. Please do reach out to me if I may be of service to you, if I may be able to help you in some way. The first step to solving this kind of issue, this kind of relationship, is awareness. That's the first step. With insight, awareness, and understanding, this is the recipe for transformation and change when you become a witness to what's not working for you. It has been my gift to share this with you. I offer a free 30-minute consultation, whether it be on Zoom, whether it be on Skype, or indeed over call. You can reach me on nomorestress@live.co.uk, or call me if you're international using +44. If you're local, 07523 120 189. Thank you for listening. Thank you for allowing me to help you. I look forward to seeing you next week. Have a wonderful week. Namaste.